I can make jokes about the placement of the microphone right now, but
Wow.
my mother's in the audience, so I'm just going to be like,
I didn't realize it.
we moved the equipment around, by the way, people, so I'm just going to fold my hands and...
Oops.
Okay, that's a great start here.
It is sitting on a pile of our books. So
Just sitting on a pile of our books and hopefully picking up our voices because that's what its
better.
job is.
Yes.
yeah.
The other thing is just, well, it goes along with being a microphone.
There's so many things I'm just not saying right now.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
And we're off to a roaring start today.
Yes,
Some
yes,
kind
we
of
are.
roaring. Somebody. Oh my Lord.
Hi, Brian. Alan, if you can actually pull off the good evening and the Alfred Hitchcock voice, record that and send it to us.
Oh yeah.
That'd
be great. So we're live tonight because we were so busy we couldn't do a recording.
Well, not only that, but we'd like to actually prove to you that we have Kortnee live and in color.
In actual color. I'm not gray anymore.
So Carlton was telling
Carlton
us the
says
camera's
the camera's
not in focus.
It
looks really focused here.
I
think part of it's we're fuzzy on our transmission.
suspect I know what the problem is.
What do you think it is?
I think the camera lens needs cleaning.
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
Probably right. Yeah. So we'll have that fixed for next time.
Yeah,
we need Vaseline on the screen for our wrinkles. They used to do that in film. They would put Vaseline on it.
It's not. Yes, that was the original filter, but sorry, the Vaseline and the microphone just
does not combine well with latex. Vaseline will eat through latex.
No latex. Latex Vaseline bad.
How you make children.
Brian, we're actually surprised to see ourselves live. We're so tired.
Cedar is trying to practice self-restraint here.
Why?
Because my mother is listening.
Mom, you get to learn things about your daughter.
She has 4 children.
Yep.
All of them came naturally.
Yep.
No testing babies here.
And the tone goes to hell. Yeah, because our tone isn't great. So.
Yep.
I haven't actually checked the microphone to see if it's where it should be in terms of settings. So
if you're having trouble with the microphone, let us know so we can play with the little gain button there.
Yeah.
My brain is just in the gutter and won't come back out. It's like, no, you can't make me.
I'd have to crawl up to the gutter to get there with you. So
okay. So audio's good, Brian?
Audio's good. All right. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. Sorry, we're fuzzy. It's just.
I think we're fuzzy in real life too.
I was going to say we're slightly out of focus in real life. Mm-hmm. Very unfocused.
See, that's what we look like.
Okay. I mean.
Okay, that is not the same as that, and that's the actual camera feed.
That's the actual camera feed.
What we're seeing is actually that is a feed, an internet feed issue.
Yeah, and my internet is really great here. I think it's a YouTube issue.
The YouTube settings. I wonder if we have the YouTube settings dialed back.
Oh, possibly. I didn't look at that.
That is entirely possible.
That might be my fault.
This is the one the guys use too. We're using the computer the guys do because we're trying to.
No, but that wouldn't be it's the YouTube settings. So probably can't fix that one. Sorry, guys. This will be a voices podcast more than a.
It says out of focus. Club for the win from Nancy.
Yes. Yes.
So.
Us and Bigfoot. So
we're hairy too because I haven't had time to shave my legs.
You know, I actually made a point of shaving before my surgery, just because I didn't want them to have to look at 2 weeks of.
Well, you know what? We have standards that we need to hit.
We do have standards. Sometimes they're low, but there are standards.
Oh, so now we're apparently a little better.
Okay.
Okay, good.
We're just going to roll with it because that's how you do life. It's been this month. I mean, it's like we're punching bags and we just keep bouncing back and forth, and then there's another hit and you just bounce in a new direction, and you never know.
Yeah, we're like the wobbly ones. You go boom, and they go boom.
Yes, but I seem to be the one hitting everything.
Well, you're hitting them on my behalf because I was just kind of laying there for a while. My sand fell out.
Oh, it's been great to work out a lot of frustrations. The amount of staring and eyebrow of doom I've been able to do over the last month. It's been kind of fun.
It's been wonderful, and I have greatly appreciated it.
Well, it's
and she's been coaching me in how to do it. So I have been going to battle on Sanford's behalf with the VA, which had positive results today. So
yes, I've been doing the demonstrating appropriate outrage. Hey, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Tiffany. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, fair warning. We're gonna go. We've already been off the rails.
We're punchy. We're definitely punchy today.
So,
but no, we've been. It's been very, very interesting because one of our previous ones we talked about how we're trained into service and we're trained into. It was interesting that usually I'm the one who's out there in the front, going do, and we flipped. I was doing all the service, but which was fun because I got to beat up nurses and doctors and yell at people and go, you can be outraged and angry now, but that's been fun.
Well, I was going to say, because it's not that service is a bad thing. It's that complete submission is a and that is not just women too, because I mean guys are conditioned to a certain submissiveness as well. Just because I was talking about the topic I wanted to rant on earlier, which is not we don't have to go there.
Cedar wants to rant.
We don't have to go there, but I had a moment.
She had a moment,
and this was just it clicked it over in my head of service is something that we all want to do for the people that we love.
Yeah,
it's when we start getting taken advantage of that the service becomes a bad thing.
Or when the person we're involved with is someone who uses that desire in a way that is toxic and unhealthy.
And there are predators that look for people that have that tendency and then glom onto them.
Yes.
And that's actually what I was talking about before we got started with this, because we were like, what are we going to talk about? And I was like, I have a rant because it's something that I see over and over again. And unfortunately, I see it in some really lovely, wonderful men.
We love men.
We love men. I love men. I have a father I love. I have a husband I love. I have a son I love. And I want to see them succeed. But there is a certain kind of woman that predatorily latches on to a certain kind of guy that lives to serve and provide for his loved ones, and she knows that, and she gets her sucker onto him and sucks him dry.
Drains his bank account, drains his life, makes him feel miserable because he can't do anything right because he's not serving enough.
And men
manipulative.
Men will not. If the woman were physically hitting them, he might realize that she's being abusive.
Yes.
But most of the men that I've ever seen deal with this did not even acknowledge that there was toxicity going on there.
Yeah.
And I have had downright arguments with a certain specific stubborn man about whether or not his previous relationship was abusive, which to me clearly was, because I see reflections of stuff that I dealt with that was certainly abusive. Hey, Julie, drive safely. So, and I've seen this in a lot of men, and unfortunately I see it sometimes in friends that are falling prey to it, and
oh my God.
And I just want to shake them and hug them and feed them a good meal and go, man, you need to let go.
Yeah, I think it's a toxic view of relationships on the woman's viewpoint, that she is to be the princess no matter what, and doesn't ever have to help carry the load, and is to be served under all. It's very narcissistic. It's a very narcissistic thing, and
it's not always princessy though. But
it's princessy in the all things flow to them.
Yes,
that all things flow to them.
That absolutely.
It is my job in a relationship to be taken care of
completely.
Yes.
Whereas to me, that's like, grow the hell up, child.
Mhm.
You know, because to me, a proper relationship is you share the load and you're
Yeah.
partners, and
Mhm.
you look for ways to help each other through trauma, and you're mirrors for each other, and you call each other out when it's like, you know, that behavior's not so good. We should talk about this because that's
Right.
not really healthy.
And you give a little, and you expect them to give a little.
Yeah.
And if you are unable to work for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
which there's a little eye roll in there because sometimes those reasons are not good ones,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's doing all the work, then at the very least you pick up the slack at home.
Yeah.
So he's not coming
Because
home
it's
tired at the end of the day having
partnership.
to
It's
do
a
all the
part-
grocery shopping.
Nobody
and the
should,
cleaning.
no man who's working full time and more should ever come home and have to do the dishes to make dinner for his family and his wife. Unless, of course, she's a terrible cook and she does everything else.
And
freely admit to
even
being
that, there's ways that she can
Yeah.
work around
there's
that.
balance that needs to happen, but it should never be sits on. I'm sorry. We had a friend, lovely man, who was involved in a marriage, who's now in a much better one,
Yes.
where he was at a convention and a friend of ours made him breakfast, and he literally went to pieces
Oh,
because
no one had ever made him breakfast before.
no one had ever made him breakfast, even after major surgery. He had to
But
go to the store and get food so he can make dinner and do all the dishes because she couldn't be bothered. And, you know, the people, you tell a story to somebody and everybody goes, and you think it's funny. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
and the thing is that, like I was saying, that often men won't acknowledge that that's toxic and abusive. And even if they manage to get out of that relationship and
Yeah.
into a better one,
Mm-hmm.
they have now taken all that training that they got from this woman that was manipulating them, and it goes with them into the rest of their life and
Yeah.
their relationships. And
Unless they get lots of really good therapy.
right,
Yeah.
which again,
Or they find a good woman who says, no, that's not okay.
Yes.
Do not treat me that way. Don't do that for me. This is something I can handle on my own.
it does
Let
not
me take care of you.
show you how tough you are, Ben.
No, see, Ben,
We
that's
know you're tough, but you need to not be tough all the time.
No, I'm sorry, but your partner should be your soft place to fall, where you don't have to be tough, where you can let go of all of those huge responsibilities, and put your head on her chest and rest away from the world. And she recognizes how hard you work and how tough you are, and gives you a place where you don't have to be.
She should not be part of the battle. She should be the refuge from
She
it.
should be the person standing there going, you go, you're amazing. Here, come rest with me and let me rub your shoulders. That's how that should be.
And I
So-
understand the desire of a man to
Well,
tough it up and tough it out. And I get that because that's actually a wonderful part of
Yeah.
masculinity that I love to see. But there's a point when you go too far with it.
Yep. White knight syndrome.
Well, it's
And
the white knight syndrome, yes, to some extent. I mean, men tend to swoop in and save strays.
well, yeah,
And
it's a natural tendency to do that.
and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, my parents got together because of similar impulses. And I say that, and they are divorced, but it took 26 years. So,
It can take some time to get there.
and that was external forces, unfortunately. But the thing of it is that if I can get you guys to get it through your thick skulls that it's okay to not be treated like this.
Yeah.
To be treated with love and honor and respect, and not be treated like you're a wallet that she's going to open up and clean out periodically as soon as you've filled it back up again.
To acknowledge that you have actual needs, and if she's going to be a partner, she needs to help with those needs.
Well,
And she has, because you're helping with hers.
Yeah.
And that's, different
And you should not
emotional
be
needs.
sleeping in the closet because she can't stand to have you in bed with her anymore because you might ask for sex.
well,
And demanding emotional connectivity without reciprocating physical connectivity. If there's medical issues that preclude that, that's a different thing.
But that's
But there should
you
be
talk it through and you're both on the
Right.
same page, supporting one
Not
another.
just I'm cutting this off, period, end of story, and we're not
Right.
talking.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things that, I mean,
people are not things.
yes.
I mean, God bless you.
And
Sir
people are not
Kortnee.
pets.
People are not pets. They are not things. And something that makes me crazy is I know several really wonderful men who are involved with women who think they have a right to be a shrieking harridan at them all the time and constantly denigrate them for their personal beliefs, their viewpoints, everything they do, all of the actions they take, how they're a constant failure. And I'm like, what do you expect to get from that? Except a very angry, lonely, sad, sorry man. That kind of behavior to me is like, you just need to shove that one out the door and change the locks. Because that is not how a partner behaves in a relationship.
No.
Not at all.
No, it's not.
And they expect the men in their lives to be a doormat, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, why are you putting up with that from her? Why are you well, we've been there. It's no.
Cats are different, Carlson.
Yeah, cats are their own thing.
Yeah, cats.
Cats get away with stuff that I would kick a woman out of the house for.
And this is the thing. So in my 13-year marriage, I dealt with physical abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, psychological abuse. And it was the emotional, the psychological, that was the worst out of all of those. So I understand it's so insidious.
It undermines your sense of who you are as a person and removes you from your own body.
And I think it's Los McMaster Bujold's Komar.
Mm-hmm.
Komar and then a scene in A Civil Campaign are what saved my life. Because they made me step outside and look at my marriage from the outside looking in, because the relationship that Katerina is in Komar with her husband there is in many ways similar to what I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember anymore if it's Katerina or Miles that says, basically, you get to a point where you're like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? And it's a mattering of whether is it you? Is it something you've done? You completely lose yourself and any trust in yourself. And just like any other loss of trust, it takes a lot to rebuild that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
you question every decision you've ever made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and as Ben points out, men get stuck in the horrible situation of if they've got kids, they lose. But I think that tide is actually beginning to turn.
It is.
I think
not only is it beginning to turn, but it's a fallacy to say that the best thing is for me to stay with their mother.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because then they watch you model certain behaviors, and they watch what you put up with, which tells them that you're essentially grooming your children to behave like that in the future.
Yeah.
You're teaching your daughters that it's okay for them to treat their husbands like that, and you're teaching your sons that it's okay to be treated like that. And so you have to walk.
And yes, you might lose your children, contact with your children, if you go through a divorce. It can happen. I lost one of mine in going through the divorce from my ex. My oldest stopped talking to me and hasn't talked to me in years now. I don't talk about it much because I'm going to have to stop talking here in a minute because of this.
Yeah, but there's still time.
But she's alive, I'm alive, and my other 3 children have all told me that I did the right thing. It was what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you might lose your children temporarily. But if you model the courage and the love and the persistence, the sheer bloody-mindedness to stop the abuse in its tracks, that's what's worth doing. And it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy. And it's one of those things that this is what frustrates me about men, is because women, we get all this education of, you get told what to look for red flags and what you should be trying to get out of in a relationship. And it doesn't always help, because obviously it took me a hell of a long time.
Well, part of it,
but men
owning that space in the relationship is really hard.
It is. And it's a diminishment of yourself when you acknowledge that you allowed yourself to be in this place.
Well, yeah.
And you feel bad, but it shouldn't necessarily.
Mm-mm.
Because a lot of these people that are being the abusers, and there's times I wonder how malicious they are, but they're predators. And a predator looks for prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of women predators.
And some of them
And
are
they're
just,
awful.
Some of them are just opportunistic.
Mhm.
But some of them are actually looking for a very specific type of man to take advantage of.
Yep.
Yep.
We've met a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, they're incredibly obvious to women. When a woman comes to you, and several women friends come to you as a man and say, this is not a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
It would be so wonderful if you would actually listen to us.
If we say we don't like her and we'll make it happen so she's not a problem anymore,
Yeah.
that's a sign that maybe she's not the best choice for you.
Yeah. And it's not that, it's like, oh, you don't know her. It's like, she's so much nicer when she's not around. No. And so we recognize this kind of behavior in women. And
love bombing works from the male to the female and the female to the male.
You might explain what love bombing is.
Oh. So love bombing is basically it's when someone starts to feel bad and edge away in the relationship, the other one that wants to keep them surrounds them with love, and they send them flowers, and they do incredibly sweet, ridiculously romantic things, and they're like, I'm so sorry, I never meant to hurt you. And
they still don't take out the damn trash.
And they suck you back in because they love you. They're working through their whatevers.
I'm so sorry.
And that's love bombing. It's basically like
manipulation.
Bombarding you with love, not like real nourishing, nurturing love, but the over the top things to quell your fears because they can see those and they want you to be submissive and compliant to what they want.
Yep.
It's the grand gesture, but not putting in the work to do anything else.
Yeah, because grand
there's
gestures
no
are easy, but the
long-term
improvement.
It's very hard.
And the thing is, it's different from, because one thing that I've run into is how to tell ADHD, I'm really excited about this person that I just met.
Mm-hmm.
And we click on all the levels. That's a different kind of reaction because it's a constant. They think about you. They do little things. It's the small things they put in the work to make the effort for a relationship.
Yeah.
Love bombing looks similar, but there's no underlying effort for an actual relationship.
And there's no long tail.
Yes.
So
yes, and all the behaviors that are toxic resume after a short bit of time.
And ALS has a very good point. If she's nicer when she's not near your friends, she may be unconsciously viewing them as a threat, or consciously.
Isolation is another tactic.
Isolation is absolutely, and that's something that I had to deal with in my life.
With the isolation,
completely being cut off, and I see a lot of men let the woman do that because she's jealous. She's over the top jealous, or not even over the top jealous, but just she can't stand for him to have other females around them, and that's because she knows they're going to see right through her.
Yeah. They're going to see a better version. I have been legit called a homewrecker because I was nice to somebody in front of their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I was flirting or anything like that. I was a nice and decent human being in front of their spouse, and they realized, wait a minute, she behaves like this in public, and you behave like this in public, and worse in private. Why can't you be more like that?
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't necessarily a helpful thing to say, but it's a good realization to have that there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
So
there are times where I have been out with a toxic couple, and a woman has gone off on her husband in public, who I was friends with before they got married, and my response was, "You don't get to talk to my friend that way, especially not in public." And she was floored. And so was he, because he hadn't been defended in so long. He didn't know what it felt like. I said, "You don't talk to my friend that way." I said, "I'm not going to stand for that. You don't get to do that."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, I'm his wife." I said, "I don't care. If you're his wife, you should be saying nice things about him. And if you have a problem, you keep it private.
Mm-hmm.
You don't shame people in public when you're in a relationship with them."
Yeah.
And she was very circumspect around me from then on.
Yeah.
And she attempted to isolate him, but it didn't work because I wouldn't stand for it. But it's that behavior that is not okay.
And it's the same things that you see women warned against also work on men as well. And the worst of it is that it's the men that are noble and good guys that are really trying hard to take care of someone that they love, and or a family if a family has been started in that. And these guys just basically lay down and let her walk her high-heeled little self all over him. And it's just, it's so frustrating because
it's heartbreaking because they deserve better.
Yeah,
they deserve better.
Yeah.
And I know that it's really hard to get through to somebody and have them actually listen and hear this, but it's the same thing that I have felt compelled, and I'm free to talk about it now. I'm free to talk about my late marriage like it's dead. It is dead. I'm free to talk about it, and I'm free to start telling my story in hopes that people that can hear it can also start to see in their own lives the ways that if they need help and ways to get out and help themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian says getting anyone to actually respond well to that input, talking about being told by friends she's not good for you, and that's the thing, is it.
And sometimes they have to see an alternative. It's like, if I walk away from this, I lose everything, and what's better?
Yeah.
Our friend who, casually said, "I'm never going to be with another woman who hits me," and it's like, hold up,
wait. What?
Like, we didn't know that part. We knew she was a toxic bitch who was trying to get us on her side to get him to keep him from doing things that she didn't want him to do, or to make him do things that she wanted him to do. We didn't know, we didn't even hear about this part because we thought she wouldn't have the balls to do that. And she did. And it's a good thing that they were already divorced. He was already remarried, and she was in a different state when I found out, because I would have fixed it permanently. And I have no bones about saying that.
It was very, and the other thing that I find very difficult is that men very often have no place to go.
Yeah. Women, well, in theory, because I went through this too when I left my ex. I had some family support to some extent. But the first time I left my ex, I went to church. Literally, we were getting ready to go to church, and he hit me because I had hung one of his shirts up backwards. And I was a few months pregnant at that point with our first child. And because I had run and tried to hide from him, he actually hit me in the face for a change and gave me a black eye. So I basically just took the car keys and went to church. And because it was Wednesday night, and I walked in with a black eye, and of course immediately was like, and I told them what had happened, and they gave me sanctuary for a week. And he met with the elders and apologized profusely and said he would never do it again, and said all the right things. Yeah. Well, he didn't love bomb me necessarily because he wasn't supposed to come near me at first, but he love bombed them. And they told me at the end of the week that I really needed to go back to my husband. So I did, because I was being told by the people I trusted that he would be okay now. Very shortly thereafter, we were no longer attending that church, and we never attended another church regularly for the next 12, 13 years.
Isolation.
So isolation. But that's the thing, is that with women, it doesn't always work that we have someplace to go. But with guys, a guy in that same situation wouldn't even get that.
No. Which is, to me, is incredibly sad. Because women are abusive in different ways than men.
Yes.
They truly are.
Much softer, more insidious ways. It's
more psychological. Women learn to fight because we don't have the physical strength. We learn to fight in psychological ways. I am of the opinion that if a woman hits a man, all bets are off. She is given permission.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if a woman, you know, hauls off and punches the guy in the face, he has every right to punch her back.
Yep.
I mean, end of story. And I'm finding more and more police agree with that. You know, it's like, no, you know, you started, honey.
There
You
may
know?
have been a shift. Jesse Barrett's bringing up Johnny
Johnny
Depp's case.
Oh my God,
Which-
thank you, Johnny.
Which,
Yes.
yes, the fact that the man had the cojones to go to court and bare his deepest secrets
Yes.
in order to do that is bless him, because now maybe men will start to get some attention with this.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, yeah.
But there's the other ways that the women will come in and bleed them dry. And I referred to this earlier with the wallet of she'll come in and she'll be all like, poor damsel in distress. I have financial issues. And the financial abuse in a relationship is one thing. The financial abuse coming into a relationship reaches whole new levels of basically how far can I take this?
Mhm.
And there's elements of the con man
Oh, there is
Yeah.
very
to a
much
lot
so.
of that.
Yeah, if she comes into
So-
your relationship and has to use your credit to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
that should be a gigantic red flag.
Yes.
And the thing, Ben, with use your words. On the one hand, yes, speak up for yourself, say what you want, talk what you use your words. But there are times when the only appropriate response is to punch somebody in the face, and I will stand by that. And if someone has earned being punched in the face, you do it right, you do it hard, and you make sure you've got backup.
Yeah. And I would say with a guy, don't do it unless there's witnesses to prior bad behavior.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately the deck's stacked against you guys.
Mhm.
It really is.
And I hate to say it, but that's reality and that's life. And it's the
I know,
same
it's-
thing of
yeah.
I would not go walking in a dark alley in the city after dark alone.
Mhm.
And if I was, I would be packing heat. But for guys, hitting a woman in a relationship, even if she was hitting you first, if you're alone, that's your situational awareness.
I think Johnny Depp's smartest thing he ever did was to record those conversations.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the thing that I would say is that's
Yeah.
the equivalent of me having Samuel Colt by my side in that dark alley. Is
Mhm.
guys, use your cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there is a pattern, then reach out for a trusted advice and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Use
Hey,
your ears.
It just, like I said, there's so many really delightful, amazing, wonderful men who are stuck with really horrible.
Just awful.
I don't really call them women because really they're girls.
They're girls.
They're girls. They're not fully formed human beings. They need rescue. They use the rescue as manipulation. They use for money. It's just, and like Ben said, small head thinking. I mean, yeah, you get entrapped that way, but that's a thing that you need to grow out of as men. If you are constantly responding to save the little woman, then you need to stop and look at yourself, because a good partner is not necessarily someone who needs to be saved from everything. She may need to help up now and then, but if she says, yeah, just let go of me now, I can walk on my own, much better woman.
And
Much better woman.
if you see that she's making positive efforts to improve her life, so if she's in a financially bad situation, rather than you rushing in and bailing her out, see what she's doing, concrete steps that she's making to get out of that. And then maybe
Right.
once she's got part of the way out of the hole herself, then you can reach in and give her a hand.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a sharing the load thing.
Yeah.
But if it's like,
And support her efforts. Like if she has to take on a second job, don't bitch that you never see her anymore, because she's not asking for your help. She's
Show
taking
up
on
randomly and do her dishes.
right.
Yeah.
Have lunch with her at work.
Yeah.
Like that's
But that's men who are men rather than men who are boys.
yeah, because if I mean, granted, there is the romantic notion of go save the woman, the damsel in distress, but how'd she get in distress in the first place?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, is the distress of her own making?
Mhm.
Does she constantly move from disaster to disaster to disaster, and it's things that she's done?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If
You know?
all of her exes are assholes, there's a common factor. And it's
Mhm.
not her exes.
It's
Yeah.
not her exes. If she's got a string of 4 marriages and she owes taxes in 4 states, that's not a good choice.
And I will
No.
also say this too, which is that there's trauma basis for both sides here.
Yes, there is.
And just because she had a traumatic upbringing does not give her free reign to be a bitch.
Nope.
Any more than a lot of the men that we see that are being abused have traumatic pasts, which leaves you vulnerable. And I know that for me, this was a thing, is I have had traumas in my background going back to early childhood that left me vulnerable. But that's not an excuse. It's simply,
it's a reason.
There. It's a reason. And if, as a guy, you have that traumatic past, you need to be aware that it leaves you with a chink in your armor.
And get therapy. And that's like such a big refrain. But one of the big things that the first time I went through marriage counseling, the first book that our therapist had us buy was a copy of Boundaries.
Yeah.
That helped you define who you are, where you are, what your boundaries are, and that you are allowed to have boundaries in an intimate relationship.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Spousal rape is a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
and
also,
it goes both ways.
And I don't. And his bad day does not have to make my week.
Well, I will say this: one of the early things I heard about early relationships was your greatest courtesy to other people starts at home with your partner. That is the person who deserves the greatest courtesy in your life. Is that person?
They deserve your. If anybody deserves your best, the person who you spend the most time with and the most emotional labor on should be the person who gets your best.
Yes.
And you deserve their best as well.
Yes.
Like everybody has bad days, and
well, if you have a bad day, it's like, can I come talk to you about my bad day?
Yeah.
And just like get it out of my system, great. And then can like you tell me yours, and then we'll rub each other's shoulders, and okay, and the team will go for it again tomorrow. That's what it should be.
Well, that's the whole thing with and I'll go to a biblical principle with being equally yoked.
Yes.
Is the thing with unequal yoking is that one's pulling more than the other, which puts all the pressure on them, which leads to pressure points and bleeding and pain, and eventually collapse because they can't carry all the load themselves and drag their partner along with them.
And whatever else the partner keeps throwing into the wagon.
Right. And that's so it's one of those things that it's really easy to say go get therapy. It's very difficult for men, and I understand this, and I actually understand some of why, because it's very difficult for me to go get therapy. Most therapists are trained to support women. They are not trained in how to support the masculine mind, which is not the same as the feminine mind.
No, it's not.
Although I will say that,
and yes, I have biology training, and I can say this.
I will say that the therapists that specialize in people who are in the armed forces are actually better equipped to handle men who weren't in the armed forces than they are than anybody who's not specialized like that.
So if you do get yourself out of your comfort zone and actually seek out therapy, I would recommend looking for a male therapist to begin with, because I'm sure that there are some women therapists out there that are fantastic and can handle male problems, but their brains are wired differently.
Psychology is actually a better approach for men in a lot of ways.
It's doing the science, getting into the neuroscience,
a tool-based approach. Give
them
people tools. So
men are monkeys; they need tools. I love you guys, and I say this with the greatest affection, but the masculine mind is looking for solutions, and that's actually part of why sometimes there's a mismatch in a husband and wife talking, because she wants to deal with her feelings and he wants to find solutions to her problems.
The age-old discussion, which is like, am I listening or am I solving?
Right. Yes. But there's a lot of times when she will get stuck in emoting and not find and be comfortable emoting and not look for a solution when she eventually does need to have one.
Yes.
Because
you have to get past it.
Like you have your emotions and your emotions are valid, but you have to find a way to deal with it and move it.
Yes, Tom.
Oh my
it's not
God.
about the nail. That
Oh
was
my
the
God.
I
point.
hate that so much.
Oh my God. So, okay, there is a video on YouTube where a guy is talking to his girlfriend. She's like, my head really hurts. Maybe it's because of childhood trauma. She's got a nail sticking out of her head. He's like, it could be the nail in you. I don't want you to solve the problem. And she just goes on and on and on about how painful her head is. And it's like, there's a nail sticking out of your head, which I'm sure guys feel that way all the time. It's like, this is, go look in the mirror.
Yeah.
So.
And again, that goes both ways with the respect of if he's offering you a solution to your problem, ladies, give it some weight.
Don't beat him up over it.
Right.
So
don't automatically reject it.
As Ben says, use your words.
Yes.
And tell him up front. I was like, I just need to rant about this for a while, and I don't want a solution because I already figured it out. I just want to get it out of my system.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I'll bring you a drink, and we're good.
Right.
So
it's communication. I think it all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
And there's days where it's like, I just like, this was really awful, and I want to tell you about it. And I want you to say, there, you did very good. Have a drink. And I will tell someone up front, like, that's all I want from this conversation. And then I will tell them the awful thing that happened. And the ones that can go, there, go have a drink, are the ones that get the next conversation. The ones that go, well, did you try this? And have you tried this? Like, that's not, I literally told you up front what your response is supposed to be. I gave you a script. There, go have a drink. That is what you're supposed to say after this conversation. And because I'm very direct about what I want on a lot of these.
Yeah, but a lot of women aren't. I mean, we're trained in, there's vipers do that. Fine. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. I'm fine. That's bullshit. That's a child.
And it's also, and again, that comes back to too, and this is actually what the problem is both sides here, is the training.
Yeah. We are trained into this early.
If we're not aware of what our own needs are, then how can we communicate them to someone else?
Yeah.
Or if you're trained,
and if we're trained to suppress all of our own needs, which often parentified children are, then the I'm fine, no, it's okay, is actually part of our training, and it's an unconscious defense.
I know what the solution is. However, I don't have bail money and murder is wrong. So leave me alone.
Yes.
Did you have a recording device in my house at some point today?
You may have had a variation on that conversation.
I look terrible in orange. I look terrible in orange. So,
yes.
Oh man. Oh. No, it's a good rant though, because I mean, Cedar, I think you're completely right. I mean, because we do know some really lovely men who are in some really horrible circumstances who do not deserve the way they're being treated. And I just want to, pardon me, I know it's kind of a pun, but I just want to bitch slap their wives and say, you have a treasure and you are treating him like dirt. You have an absolute treasure. Stop it.
Like the number of women I would just like to go shake and say, what are you doing? Like, go get on a dating app and see what's out there.
Yeah.
And then go look at your husband and thank him for sticking and putting up with
this bullshit. Because I'll tell you, there's a whole bunch of single women around going, honey, right here.
Well,
you don't have to put up with that.
And there's men who assume that this is what they deserve. Because it's what was modeled for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have seen this in guys that were not given any kind of affection or modeling in their childhood, then in their teen years, where most people are experimenting and finding out what relationship edges are by dating and whatnot. If they were such an oddball that they didn't at all, that leaves them vulnerable. And so they fall in with the first woman that shows them any kind of affection. And the other thing that, I mean, I literally know one lovely, extremely geeky man who I couldn't be in a relationship with, but he's still a great guy. He's an awesome friend. He literally has a Russian mail order bride because that's what he thought he needed. And she moved into his life, turned it upside down, and ordered it in the way that she desired, which makes him very uncomfortable. But that's what he thought he had to do in order to have a partner.
Yeah.
And he was lonely and desperate.
And I know I have one very dear friend who was the only stable male in his mother's life until he was 18 years old. And he was her only male companion. Like she dated a lot
constantly, which is
and
not good.
They moved every year for his entire life. They sometimes were living out of. She was sometimes living out of her car, so he stayed with his grandparents. And he was the only stable male figure in her life. And then when he turned 18 and got a girlfriend, he expected to be treated the way that she treated him, which means he did all of the housework, and she yelled at him because men are awful and evil and terrible. And then when his girlfriend kicked him out for not being submissive enough, he went to his mom and said, she kicked me out. She's like, I raised you so you were 18, get the fuck out. And she kicked him because he was an adult and kicked him out of her life because he was no longer a child that she could manipulate.
Yeah. And again, with it's what we're trained in, it's what's modeled into us. And we have to become aware of what we need and want so that we can break out of that, because it's not the cycle of abuse doesn't have to be perpetuated.
No.
And it's not perpetuated by most people that do come out of any kind of abuse, but it leaves them broken in very specific ways that they have to work on mending. And I'm saying this because this is me. But I see it with men that are left totally vulnerable and unprepared because they're not given the same tools that women are these days.
Yeah. It just breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart.
And with my friend, like, I was the first solid female presence in his life, and all of a sudden he's like, wait, this is what women are supposed to be like? The heck was I dealing with? And
girls,
all of a sudden just like, and then all of a sudden like reverts back to being 5 because he needs to grow up again. Because it was the first time
how to relate to women
he's ever been able to.
So something that I think will help is you want to surround yourself by people that you'd like to be like, because you will become like them.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you are surrounded by people that you don't like, that are using drugs, that are on permanent unemployment status,
have no drive,
that just want to sit around the house and not do anything,
that have no personal interest. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
That sneer at you for reading a book. You need to get out of that situation. Dump those people that are not actually your friends,
and move to Texas.
But not here.
Not here, though.
Over there.
The whole country is lovely. Fort Worth.
Fort Worth is great. We need friends in Fort Worth so we can come visit.
So, but literally, if that's what it takes, is to uproot yourself and go somewhere else to have a support system, but not a relationship first.
Yeah. We're glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Here.
Yeah. I needed the support system. I didn't expect to need it like that or then, but very grateful.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Yes. One of the decisions I made very consciously several years ago was I wanted to be the kind of woman I wanted my son to date. Because I wanted to model who I wanted my future daughter-in-law to look like. And he has a thing for strong women. Like,
can't imagine why.
Can't imagine. Like literally, like bodybuilders are and other
boy,
girls.
Did he have fun at Liberty Con?
He did.
The year there was the women bodybuilders there.
He did not spend any
Officials
time at
were
Liberty
good
Con.
for everybody.
He went and hung out in the hallway and just like watched the bodybuilding competition. It was fantastic. But he likes the girls who are in his MMA classes and who do all that stuff because he wants women who, if he's acting up, will punch him in the face. But also will tell him before he gets
hold him
there.
Accountable.
Yeah. Tell him before he gets there that, by the way, you're acting like an asshole. So that he doesn't get to that
with
point.
him. They have enough self-possession that they're willing to say, I will not tolerate this behavior.
Yeah.
And the white knight type of men we're talking about do not have enough self-possession
Yeah.
to realize they have the right to say, I don't have to put up with this behavior.
Yeah.
And you will not treat me this way.
No.
It's okay to say, I'm not comfortable with this. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all the things. They're falling out of my mouth, and I'm hearing this is the echoes of what they were telling girls not that long ago, that it's okay to say no. It's okay to get your distance, to draw boundaries, that you don't have to be touched without your consent.
And saying yes
especially
once.
men. I mean, I am really offended by women who think they have a right to just walk up and grab a man's ass.
Not cool.
Not unless you know the guy and that's something you have established previously.
Yeah.
But some stranger, that is not okay.
Yeah.
That is not, I mean, it's like, would you want a man to do that to you? No, you don't get to violate their personal space either.
No.
Right.
So, I mean, it just,
I mean,
And just because you said yes once does not mean it's always yes again.
yeah.
And I am all for equality. Let's treat guys like we're treating girls.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been treating guys worse and worse, and a lot of them internalizing that. And it's not healthy for them, and it's not healthy for the girls.
No.
No, it isn't.
Being daddy's little princess without a daddy around is warping.
Oh, there's a hole.
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just, we love men. And we love the men we're around. And
Yeah.
we
And
are
we want
surrounded
them-
by some really wonderful, wonderful men.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole North Texas Troublemaker gang, just not just local, but the ones all in our group.
Mhm.
And I mean, you guys are just spectacular.
Yes.
And so many of you are like, it's kind of interesting because I don't lack for having a strong will
At all.
at all. But I just absolutely adore all the men that we have around us. Because we're so lucky. They're brilliant, and you're funny, and you're interesting, and you're helpful, and just all around cool people.
And take direction well most of the time.
Well, and the nice part, and are not offended by us saying, "Would you please go do?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Yep, well, off you go."
Oh, and sometimes there's 4 feet and 5 people go away. Also not offended, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Great. So, but I really feel like we're lucky, and that we
Yes.
have so many of them. But also, I see a lot of them suffering through abuse that is.
And it's one of those things of growing up, I was very much a tomboy, so most of my friends were boys. And it's only very recently, like the last few years, that I've had as many female friends as I have, which is cool, but different. And thank
same
God
problem.
you all are odds, so it's not that.
Well, we are women of a similar ilk that we
But-
don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're
I'm
very,
very
direct.
I'm very fond
getting more
of
so.
men outside of the whole I'm married to one, but just guys are kind of cool, and I get I get where they're coming from as men and where their training is culturally. And I get very frustrated with them sometimes because I see them falling into traps, into honey traps. We'll go there. I see them falling into these honey traps that
It's
are
not that
baited
good.
with all the sweetness, and then when you land at the bottom, there are spikes, and you're gonna bleed out, man.
There are bamboo spikes with nasty things on the tips.
Yep.
So usually some kind of interesting infection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and you might linger
Mhm.
for a long time in an infected marriage, but in the end, what's left isn't good for you. It isn't good for your kids.
No.
we should end this with bring us your girlfriends. Bring us your girlfriends.
Let us vet them.
Well, mostly
We're quite good at
because
that.
And
And
like
we'll
we are in
train
North
them if they're-
Texas too,
yeah.
is it's like we want everybody to succeed. Everyone deserves to have a
Yeah.
good relationship and a warm, loving, safe space. Everyone
Yeah.
deserves that.
Yeah.
And they talk about women need that. It's like men need it too.
Men might
Yes.
need it more.
Yeah, because men
Because-
are taught that they are supposed to be strong, independent creatures.
And
And they're taught that they're supposed to be helping up the little lady that fell down. And that leads them to the pitcher plant, as Jesse just said, where it looks like it's going to be fine and then slip and you're not coming back out of there anytime soon.
just
So
because
we're not
it's
gonna-
soft and silky doesn't mean it's not a trap. So
They make very nice prosthetic ones these days. So
get a toy. It doesn't wreck your credit rating.
before you go on a date, if you really, really think you like her,
Take her
care
to
of
coffee
yourself
with
first.
the gang.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the other thing too, is that we don't factor that in because it affects men and women both, which is our hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to the male-female differences, different hormones, but similar drives and urges. And especially when you're young and you haven't been taught how to deal with those fluctuations.
Oh my God, poor guys. I just feel so, it's like,
because it's worse for men.
it's so much worse for teenage guys. It's so much worse.
Jesse, yes, I have, and I stick with my original statement. It is cheaper, unless you're going for like art installation type, in which case that's a completely different conversation. It is cheaper.
Even art installation is probably cheaper than divorce and alimony.
It's cheaper than writing a loan on a $30,000 car.
It's
in your name because she can't afford it herself. And she needs to go to work, but she couldn't just take the $7,000.
And she's moved back in with her ex-husband and taken the car with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cheaper than
halfway across
your
the
IP.
country.
Yeah. And I mean,
we might have opinions about some
men
things.
are
Just a few.
wonderful creatures, but especially when the hormones kick in. Testosterone is a hell of a drug, man. I mean, this is actually part of what's going on with the whole thing, is that testosterone literally leads to feelings of euphoria.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when a guy is riding that high, he's not in his right mind. Which, on one hand, there's the whole mating bond thing, which isn't. I'm using that term loosely. I don't want to dig into all of that. We don't have time. But it's part of bonding with other humans is what we humans do. But there's bonds that are stronger in some cases than others. I mean, we've talked about baby bonds.
Yep.
And how you didn't get that because you didn't get the full experience.
No, I mean, having Katie, I don't think I've ever had a normal life in any way, shape, or form. But when my daughter was born, I didn't see her for several days and did not get the hormonal bond that mothers get, because there's a hormone that lets down when you hear a baby cry when you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen with me up until the optometrist was looking at her eyes. And then the giant, so my little tiny baby was doing like this big, had her eyes clipped open like Clockwork Orange, examining her eyes to make sure that her retinas weren't damaged by the oxygen hood, which they have to do with preemies. I happened for the very first time to get up and walk out to NICU for the first time to go see my baby. They did not expect me to be there. And I walked in, and my child was not in her incubator. She was on that thing, and it looked like a torture device was attached to her head. And this giant fanged and clawed thing leapt up out of the back of my brain. And I literally, in my brain, stepped aside because this thing went, "Ow!" And I was like, what the fuck are you?
Mama bear, that's what that is. That's Mama bear.
I had the hormone release of protect my baby. I know exactly when it happened in my brain. And it was so odd because I had two brains. Because I'm a very rational person. I live in my rational brain. But this thing was like, wow. And I walked up to the doctor and he was like, you might be the mother. And I said, yes, I'm the mom. And I said, you better tell me what you're doing or I'm going to make you eat your testicles. And he's like, normally we don't let you see this part. I'm like, no kidding. But it is that enormous rush of emotion. And I know guys go through an equal high level rush with the testosterone.
Yes.
So.
Well, and that's the thing, is that the parent-child bond is really powerful, and as culturally we recognize it and celebrate it, but the mating bond we have not been because
you've trivialized it a lot.
Because divorce is so easy and relationships are so casual. The reality is that anyone that you ever have sex with, you are bonded with for the rest of your life, especially women. The physiological reality is that once his sperm has been in you, you have his DNA because you absorb it into your mucosal membranes.
fascinating.
It is. And when we get into the whole genetics and epigenetics of it and horizontal gene transfer, it's not as big as bacteria do, because bacteria, they do things weird. But the reality is
This
that
explains so much.
the reality is that where once we treasured the lifetime bonding between a man and a woman, it's now been tossed by the wayside and actually treated as if it's something that's bad, that you shouldn't do, that something's wrong with that. The other thing that I see that goes in the whole opposite direction is that the religious teachings that you can't ever be divorced came damn near, no, they did kill me because I was dead on the table twice. So there's two extremes, and reality needs to go somewhere in the middle, because there's a very important bond, which is hormonal and physical and psychological, between a man and a woman that are in a committed relationship.
And needs to be renewed.
Yes, it needs to be renewed and nourished and replenished. It's like a tree. If you plant a tree in a little pot, it becomes bonsai. It's tiny, it's stunted. It requires a lot of work and external feeding for it to become a viable, pretty thing for bonsai. But if you plant a tree in the ground and you give it that constant nurturing, it will grow into a big, beautiful tree that will shade and shelter you.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great spot to stop.
Sorry, I really went ranty.
You were waxing eloquent, and that was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
But it's true. It's very true. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I mean, if you're plant yourself in some good dirt.
Go touch grass.
Yeah.
Well, and just,
maybe not right now, it's crunchy.
I mean, check out where you're trying to plant yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what you're trying to plant where.
Yes.
Because trying to plant good seed on bad soil is just as useless as, drowning it.
Yeah. Yeah, because overwatering is a thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be that way. So rant about how much we adore men and how much we want you to have a good life, and don't put up with.
We love you. That doesn't mean we're not going to get mad at you sometimes.
Exactly, Tom.
Yeah.
I actually used to have a mustard seed necklace that I got from my grandmother that I wore all the time.
Yeah.
I take that one to heart. I mean, I'm very much about dropping a little wow, look at that. And then wandering off.
You scatter them all over the place, and you're surrounded by riders now to pick them up.
I do that all the time.
Stubborn has evolutionary purposes.
Yep.
It is actually a valuable trait. It's annoying as hell, but it is a valuable trait.
Mm-hmm. It is a valuable one. Anyway.
Yes. So, upcoming. This is live, which means that Muggies in Space will shortly be Friday.
Moggies in Space releases Friday. What is it? 11 great stories about cats in space.
Cats in space. And we have enough to do 2 more. Well, no, we have enough to do 1 more, and I think.
Oh, we've got more coming in.
We've got more coming in. And
yeah.
It ends.
Yeah.
So if you're writing a Moggies in Space stories, do not despair. Finish it. Send it to us.
Yes, because I've already been answering that question a lot. Mm-hmm. Space Cowboys is currently being read. We're going to go to 4, 5, and 6 with that one.
We have enough Space Cowboys.
Yes.
Make your cowboy a cat. Send it to Moggies. Not really. I'm kidding.
No. Frankly, I love the Space Cowboys. It's probably one of my favorite
it's so much fun.
projects we've worked on.
Well, and the other thing too is the very first of the Spurgle Chronicles. The first ones are being decided by Ian this week. We're making him do all the work on that one, and finding it the best Spurgle in the worst circumstance. So contracts for those will go out on Saturday, which means I need to stand on his foot for a little while and get him to finish his work.
Imaginarium postcard contracts are going out this weekend.
Imagination, they'll go Saturday, probably late because there's so darn many of them.
Oh my god!
Difficult decisions.
Yeah, I've got 2 sets of contracts going out this weekend. So, but oh my goodness, that one was boggling.
Oh
yeah, that was
incredible.
Wow. You're right. They have been. They've been really fun to read.
Yeah.
I got to read every single card coming in and going, no, when we're short, and throwing it in the pile. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. We actually sparked some interesting conversations about where they're going in the future. Because we got so many good ones.
We had 161 requests.
Yes.
116 returned, 96 made the cut.
Yep.
Yes.
And we can put 20 in the book.
And we are behind the scenes for postcards. There's a lot of discussion going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we may at some point throw it open to more of a public conversation.
Again.
Because postcards are amazing and I really, really love them. But they're a lot of work and
they are the smallest book we do that requires the absolute most work to produce.
So it's going to we have to evaluate it from a business standpoint and not just we love this to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So
we as a creative project, we all love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. We launched 3 baby authors.
We did.
We published a 6-year-old. I mean, with that story. Oh my gosh.
6 and 2 8-year-olds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and people who've never written before.
And we had a gentleman at the age of 70. He's now a published author because of postcards. Yeah. It is phenomenal. It's fulfilling, and we're gonna have to figure that
killing
out.
us.
Yeah. So,
but that's okay. We're still working on figuring it out.
Yep.
And we have a couple of different solutions that may work if we can figure out how to make them happen.
And we're open to. I mean, this isn't just us doing the whole emoting thing. If you think you have a solution, feel free to shoot it our way, and we will definitely consider.
Absolutely.
This is a problem that we're trying to solve in the best possible way.
Because we are overwhelmed with goodness.
Yes.
Which is a good problem to have.
Yes.
We're actively trying to solve it. We are constrained by certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have something creative, let us know. We might, we'll throw it in the pile. Worst case scenario, we don't use it.
Yeah. But other open calls. I don't know what we've got out there.
All Will Burn is closing the end of this month.
The lengths a parent will go for her child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things, what you will do to protect your child. It doesn't have to be dark either.
No.
It could be that, like you go and be the center of the universe in their universe display at their science fair because the bully ate their homework or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
You wear their outfit as the model for the fashion show because their best friend got sick.
So, I mean, it doesn't have to, it can be the lengths, the extremes we will go to.
Yeah.
I will sit at her tea party and with my wrecked knees in agony and have tea with my kid because she needs this. So,
and I've got fairy glitter in my beard, but she's my daughter.
Yep. So there is that. And there's more coming. We have actually over on the table over there
a whole slew of.
There is a big giant piece of butcher paper and 24 cards
representing anthologies.
Representing 24 anthologies for 2024.
Yep.
So I have to do some work on that schedule before we can release all of that and let people know what's going on with that. Mm-hmm. So lots of good stuff coming.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff coming.
So I think the first one for next year, which we could probably talk about, because I know it's going to be the very first anthology we do next year, is the steampunk one.
Yes. We're going to do a steampunk anthology.
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll define that a bit more because we still have to backdate that as to when that opens.
Right.
So, but we've got some really cool things coming.
Oh my gosh.
God,
some of them,
ones.
Yeah.
So we should just do an anthology live stream where we talk about all the ones for the coming year. I think we should do that with Ian.
I think we should.
Yeah.
We should go through our little cards and say, guess what?
Joel, I love that plan, and I'm going to put that in my back pocket to talk to him about in Vegas. Talk Larry into doing a Monster Hunter themed postcards.
Okay.
We're back pocket. We'll talk about it in Vegas.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, he and I have a meeting in Vegas.
We have a meeting with them. So that's kind of where we're at. So
All the news.
All the news that's not fit to print yet. So.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. But yeah,
I think it's our most husband friendly
It might be.
broadcast
It
yet.
might be.
I know.
We're
It just,
typically not husband friendly.
Oh,
I think it's man friendly.
I
man
should
friendly,
probably
yes.
give y'all a heads up because I'm going to cut my hair. So next time you see me, it won't be this.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
And it's a good thing. She's very
Yeah.
cute with short hair.
Yes.
yeah. We'll
So-
talk more about that at a different time. But I just figured I'd give them a heads up because next week
It may be short.
it may be very short.
Yeah.
And we probably won't be live next week, guys. So
No. We've in fact,
well,
we
we're
need to get
barely
a-
live right now.
We're barely
Yeah,
live
I was
right
gonna
now,
say,
right?
We've got to get a few episodes in the can. We
Yeah,
need some
we
buffer.
have a lot going on because we're about to run off to San Antonio for Rob's signing event.
Yep.
Middle of the month, and then we've got Pecan coming up way too fast.
Not ready yet.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So I guess we will catch you about. But guys, just know that there's the three moms. We're in your corner.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
totally in your corner for you.
And if you need to talk, we're here.
Yep.
If you need to vet a girlfriend,
Yeah, absolutely.
Please let us help.
we are
you.
happy to help.
If you need to vet a girlfriend and we're in range, we'll go out to coffee with you both.
Mhm.
I mean,
And worst case scenario, you can do what my son does, which is, would my mom like this person?
yeah, ask yourself, would the three moms
Like this
be on her side?
And if the answer is no, maybe find someone better.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of good women out there hiding in places you'd least expect.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
All right. Well, we will talk to you guys later, and yeah, see you around.
and we
Be good
promise
now.
no more hospitals. So
No, for at least another month. I cannot afford it. Neither can you guys.